This is video number 2 regarding this book that I believe is by Abraham Lincoln. It's a Commonplace book from 1839 to 1840. This second video is in regards to the handwriting inside the book and analysis in the back cover and the front cover of the book. We're going to look at things in the front cover, for example, with this penciled in area. It says page 8, Ohio Camp, resolutions. This is an R here. This is an S at the end. Vote of Harrison, 18, page 18, because on page 18 it has to do with Harrison's vote within the book. This is classic H. You can see it going down. I'm not sure what's going on down here. It could be the swirl, but you see it goes up, comes down, goes up again and around. And here is the of. Okay. On the back side of what we're going to be spending most of the time on, we're going to start looking at the different parts of this, and I'll systematically go through each line the best I can. But I want to give an example of what we are doing by looking at the word president. We have 2 examples of the word presidents here. It's really good because he used the word president multiple times. The P doesn't look like his typical P in his early part of his history, but let's take a look. All analysts are all pages that we're going to be using for analyzing are going to come from papers of Abraham Lincoln or the Library of Congress. I really like the papers of Abraham Lincoln because they tell you directly that Abraham Lincoln wrote this entire document, including the address on the last page, which was folded to make an envelope. You know it is cited from the source that it is by Abraham Lincoln, by the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum in Springfield, Illinois. So the comparisons are valid. So if we go back, and let's just start with this page right here. This is from 1848. We'll take a look at how we're going to go about doing this. And we look at the word president. Here's the word presidential. And in his early years, he did not use this P very often. There's only a few examples where I think I've found it, and it's difficult to find. But in his later years, he uses this P. And you can see it's this style of P. There's present, and here again right here. Moves around, comes around. And you can see how the S folds on to the I, and the dot of the I rolls past. And you can see D and T right there. He does this with the word president and the sentences and the T's at the end of a word. He usually caps them at the top. Sometimes misses them. You see that? Which is different from when he is at the beginning or even in the center at times. He'll often cross through it. All right. Also, let's take a look at another example of this. So we're looking at the word president as an example of how we're going to be working through these pages. So let's go to line number 5, and we have another example of this. And we can see here he has payment, and he really starts to use the P's, the style of P in his later writing. All right, but we see that it doesn't look exactly like the word president in this case. So if we go back in time a little bit to 1832, okay, we're looking at the word president. We go to his election returns page. Again, this is by Papers of Abraham Lincoln. This is validated that it is written, all this is written by Abraham Lincoln. So this is a very good place to start. And you can see how his P's are different at this time period. Right? They're curly, for lack of a better term. His R's look more like the P's. So you see, well, even then his R's are not quite are different at that time. But if we scroll all the way down to the bottom of this page, there's a portion of there where the word president is repeated multiple times. I believe it's on page 10. And here we are, at the bottom of these returns in 1832. If I increase the size, you can see the word president over and over again. It's very easy to compare. This book is from these writings were from 1840, early 1840, late 1839 at best, later 39. It could all be from 1840. But you can see that there is his old style P, but then you have that old style R he had that he quits using around the early 1840s also. And again, we have the S, and if you look, he'll often separate the word president in two parts. And the T's are always capped at the top at the back end. Over and over again. And you can see the R's are the same. So it's not always easy because this is right in the smack dab period of time where he's changing some of his handwriting. But you can see where these comparisons come from. Other things to look for is if you look at the word president, you see this S he puts into the end there. You can see it at the T and the S portion. It looks like a sideways S. He does this with whenever there's a T and an S, the end of his T and S letters. Or you can even actually kind of see it in the word votes. So let's start from the beginning then. And I think maybe you can see some other examples. You have these style of S, this big style S. Didn't always use this, sort of like a blade going to the right. Loops around. You can see the backward Y. Sometimes it's more, you can less are sloppier than other times. You can, again, this is from 1832. There's that S again. So let's take a look then at the first word here, white. Let's take a look at the flourishment. Since we're on this document anyway, and this document's from 1832, you can look it up on Papers of Abraham Lincoln. It's written by Abraham Lincoln. This is a good example of just some of the flourishments, for lack of a better term, where he uses these in his writings. And perhaps you can see some things pop up as we go along. You can see it in the F. And there are other samples of it too. He uses a lot in the H's right here. But let's take a look at some other examples. I had to classify these in different blocks. But if we look right here, let's start at 122, 1835. Right off the bat, we're going to see that this document, that is Abraham Lincoln's document, will have these these flourishments right here that we saw at the beginning of this. Here and here in Harvey. Loops up, loops up. Okay, we saw it a couple times now. There must be in other documents as well. How about in February of that same year? Same style, same style, same style, same style. And continuing. It's reproducible. These results occur again and again in his writing. Let's see another example. November of the same year. So we have, this is interesting, because we see in this one, this is John C., I believe that's Vance. But what's interesting about this letter is that it's not a H, it's not an F or a T, it's a B. So he uses it at random times. He often uses it in his big Y's and little Y's too, this flourishment. Okay. Multiple examples, go on forever with that. How about the word white in itself? Just the word white. One thing he does with the T and the E at the end is he makes these E's at the end with his T and his E. Sometimes they're more prominent than other times. So here's an example. You see the E? Here's an E. Here's an E. That's one example. Here's another example. 1835, same year. Right here. Where we see the word white. In different parts. Also, when we look at this, besides the word white, you can see that this W, I've seen it before in some of his writings, but this is a more common W, and you can see this common W in these different locations. W is a sharp one, so it's going to be almost like that one. This rounded W again, so we get the idea. All right, we looked at the S's he had in the previous document at the beginning. We can come back to that, but if you look at the word in, this word in, it typically is straight up and down, like this one. In his writing, and the dot is floating over some random location, right, off the horizon. So that's all good. Here's your E again. What about the word Ohio? The A, you see the A is in format. It goes, see how he does it, goes up, down, wrap around, and down. What about the word Ohio? Right? Ohio's nearby. You have to assume Ohio is going to be around. Well, here's a document. Executive Mansion, 1861. This one should be easy to find. Here's the word Ohio. Take a look at his document compared to the document we have here. Try that again. Let's see. Ohio. Off the top. Flip around, come down. The I is here, curls to the O, and the dot is off in the horizon, going off somewhere. Other things I noticed about his writing is he puts these lines a lot in his writing. These little dashes. And along with these little dashes, then that should be somehow in some of his other writings, or in this sample too, and it is. Here's a sample, here's a dash, here's a dash, and then there's these squigglies that are showing that he's finishing a word, like duck. And if you look at his writings, he does this throughout his writings throughout his time. So let's take a look at what I mean by that. Here, for example, honorable. But let's take a look more at these Ohio samples. That's one example of Ohio. How about this example of Ohio? Same one. So here we go. There is another example of Ohio. Right there. Again, this is later years. Off the top, around. The dot's way out. The O goes around that, just like that. How about another sample? Ohio's real easy to find. Pops up many places in his writings. Ohio. Ohio. Another thing about it is that this little box here, this little rhomboid between the O and the H, pops up in all his Ohio's, or most of his Ohio's. I have one example that does not show that. But that also pops up in his last name, in the signatures of his last name, this little rhomboid, for lack of a better term. All right. And in this sample, you also have the word slave. So you can see how he curls his L in, and the A attaches to the V. So it goes a sharp up and down again. And we can go on from there. What else do we have to look at? So we'll go on to the next line. We'll go down to the word wig. Let's take a look at the word wig, for example. Now, if you look at this word wig in the book, there's something unique about it. Not just the loopy figure 8 G, but there's this curl within the loopy figure 8 G. It goes up, it comes around, it flips around, and makes the curve. So that should be in his writings, I imagine, correct? Let's see. So here's a document from 1843. And we're going to be looking for the G in this case that has that loop. So in this document, the one we were just looking at from 1843, most of these G's are going to be in the front. In this one, right, it is in gold. But you can see the loop. Here's a G at the end, circuit, figure 8 style. We're looking at the figure 8 style G also here. You can see it. It's right there. Comes down, goes around, looped up. He does that at the beginning too, but it's not as prominent. But here you can see the delegate came around, comes through that area, attaches to the top, and around. This is 1843, so it's going to be around the same time. Not too far in the distance future from when this was made. Here's the loop again. And again, we have this little rhomboid between the O and the L that he does. He also does that in his last name, as I said. Here's another example of the G. He used it a lot. While we're looking at this, also you can see the backward Y in slavery. He has that backward Y. And it's the R that we have, the old style R that he would use. That inside, the inside part would come around, then come around, go around, and do the figure 8. Okay, what about the word address? This is very interesting because you have two D's, and then you have SS. Let's take a look at that next. Okay, here's a sample from the Papers of Abraham Lincoln from February 6, 1839. And we're looking at the second line, and we're comparing this to address. There's these short D's, and they have a little curl at the end. It's kind of separated from each other. The second one will attach, apparently. And you have that circular G. But how about this address? How about that part? How does he do his S's? And he has a double S, like this. Here's a double S. Again and again. All businesses. And it's the same. There's no doubt. So what do we got so far? We've got this flourishment. We have the E. We have the S and a funny Y. We have the R in this early writing and this stiff N for N. We have Ohio matching and the A matching. We have the G, the inside circular, and the standard W. Now we have the double D's. And we have the S's also. So the abundance of coincidences and similarities is really only one conclusion, that this is a Abraham Lincoln document used by Abraham Lincoln. But we can continue and fortify the results more. As we continue, let's take a look at the word Indianapolis. That's what that says, Indianapolis. It makes sense that his Indiana's and Indianapolis look similar as well. Also, which were actually kind of hard to find. His B's, this is the B. This is the same B that Abraham Lincoln would use. It has it in this document. Let's take a look at it since we're on this line anyway. Or do we have it in this document? Right here doesn't quite look exactly the same. But if I go to any other random document, and we look for the letter B, you're going to find that that letter B is going to be very similar, if not the exact same, as the B written on this document as well. Look at bells. This is time and again. There's really no variation in the B. Sometimes it points more to the sky. Sometimes it's a little flatter. But it's always top, bottom, round, circle. As is the C. Okay. Back to Indianapolis. Okay, here's Indianapolis from 1839, and also Ohio. How does that compare? This is in pencil, this is in pen. The I, it's this funny little I, short D, eyes flying off in some distant place. The P here is going to be this open bottom. L is going to curl over, and the S is going to be horizontal. Indianapolis. Right? Ohio again. The same little rhomboid off the top. The little dot floating off into the horizon. Whatever it is doing. Is there another sample of the word Indian, Minneapolis? There are, but like it's harder to find. You see, this one has the word Indian in it. So this is from 1839, so this is going to be close to his when this document was produced. So if we look at it, let's just go ahead and go through it. Right here is the word Indian. How does that compare to the sample? It's a little different. Just stretched out a little. The eye's still floating off in the distance. A lot of the other things fit. You still have the backwards Y at the end, it's broken down. You got a slide. All right, gives you an idea of Indianapolis. This line here. Now let's go back to the word president. President's message. Well, here he doesn't double F it, S it, but message he puts here, and it's two S's. It's not like this. So that would make sense that then he would do this for message and not words like address, which is kind of odd. And like that, let's see if I have that sample. Pause. With this document, we see that we have the S's again here in assembly, and there are several other situations where we will see that that pops up. So if he's using that format for the double S's, and it does pop up a few times in this sample, I just can't find it right now. What I'm most interested in seeing, though, is this word message. It also has two S's. So even though he has address with two S's, here's message with two S's. So it makes sense that then he would continue doing that in other documents. And it took me actually a while to find this. There is message with two S's. And is it possible then, with the G and that little part in that G, you can see it right there, is it possible then he did that twice, more than once? I found at least twice, 2 times of this happening, and here's the second time it happened. Let's see, right here. It's a different one than the other one. And you can see he has two S's in the word message. They're flat. It has a curly G. So that then is where we're going to stop for this second video. We'll return back to this in video number 3, looking at the handwriting, line 3 and 4, 5, and 6.